Welcome to Better Every Day, where small improvements lead to extraordinary results. I'm Alex.
And I'm Lisa. We're so excited to start this journey with you, exploring the incredible power of gradual progress.
Me too. Just a quick heads up before we jump in. While we're talking about growth and habits, this isn't medical or financial advice, so definitely consult a professional for your specific situation.
Great point. It's all about building that solid foundation first.
Absolutely. To kick off our discussion, we want to introduce the core concept that underpins everything we explore, the compound effect.
The compound effect. That sounds powerful. What exactly is it?
Think about how interest grows in a savings account. You deposit money, and it earns a little bit of interest. Then, that interest starts earning its own interest, and your money grows faster and faster. This is compounding. The compound effect in our lives works in a very similar way. It's about the power of small, consistent efforts that, over time, build upon each other to create massive results.
So it's not about making huge, drastic changes all at once?
Exactly. That's often where people get discouraged. They try to overhaul their entire life overnight and burn out. The compound effect tells us that tiny, seemingly insignificant choices, repeated consistently, are actually the most powerful drivers of long-term success and transformation. It's about committing to doing things that are only slightly better than what you did yesterday, day in and day out.
I like that. It makes it feel much more achievable. It's like planting a tiny seed. You don't see a giant tree overnight, but with consistent watering and sunlight, it eventually grows into something magnificent.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. The seed is that small, consistent action. The watering and sunlight are your daily habits, the choices you make. For example, imagine wanting to learn a new language. Instead of trying to study for hours every day and then giving up, the compound effect suggests you might commit to learning just 5 new words every single day.
5 words a day. That feels doable.
It does. Now let's do some quick math. If you learn 5 new words a day, in a month, that's about 150 new words. In a year, that's over 1,800 new words. That's a significant vocabulary. If you then add in a few minutes of listening practice each day, the progress, while gradual, becomes undeniable.
And that's where people often get stuck, right? They don't see the immediate results from those 5 words or those few minutes of practice and think it's not working. They're looking for the mighty oak, not the seedling.
Precisely. The crucial part of the compound effect is understanding and embracing the idea that results are not linear. They are exponential. They start out slow, almost invisibly, and then they accelerate. This is why so many people fail to achieve their goals. They give up too soon, before the compounding has a chance to work its magic. They quit their diet after a week because they don't see drastic weight loss. They stop their exercise routine after a month because they haven't achieved peak physical fitness.
So, the first step to harnessing this power is patience and belief in the process, even when you can't see the big results yet.
Exactly. It's about understanding that every small improvement you make is a deposit into your personal improvement bank account. The interest may be tiny at first, but it's accumulating. And over time, that accumulation becomes incredibly powerful. Think about any skill you admire in someone. Whether it's a musician, an athlete, a writer, or even a successful entrepreneur, their mastery didn't happen overnight. It was built from countless small efforts, practiced consistently over years.
It's the daily accumulation of actions that shapes our destiny.
That's a fantastic way to put it. This series, Better Every Day, is all about unpacking how to intentionally create and leverage this compound effect in your life. We'll explore practical strategies for setting what we call improvement goals, tracking your progress, overcoming obstacles, and transforming these small efforts into powerful, lasting habits.
And for us as hosts, the inspiration behind this discussion came from realizing that we, too, were often chasing those big, flashy changes, only to find ourselves frustrated when they didn't stick. It was when we started focusing on these small, consistent steps that we truly began to see sustainable growth.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of asking, how can I change everything at once? We start asking, what is the smallest improvement I can make today that will move me closer to my goal? And then we ask, how can I make sure I do that consistently?
This discussion, the seed of growth, is really about planting that initial understanding. It's about recognizing that the power to create extraordinary results lies not in grand gestures, but in the quiet consistency of small, intelligent choices.
So, to recap what we've discussed, the compound effect is the principle that small, consistent efforts accumulate over time to produce significant results, much like compound interest. It's about embracing gradual progress instead of seeking drastic, immediate change, and understanding that initial progress may be slow and almost invisible. The key is patience and consistency.
And the big takeaway for today is to start thinking about your own life. What small seed of improvement could you plant today? What tiny action, if repeated consistently, could lead to extraordinary results for you down the line?
That's the question to ponder as we continue. Happy learning. Next episode, The Whispers of Kaizen, Embracing Small Steps. Welcome back. Last time, we introduced the powerful concept of the compound effect. Now let's tackle a philosophy that embodies this, Kaizen.
Kaizen. It sounds so elegant. I love that it's a Japanese philosophy, and it really connects with what we discussed about the compound effect.
It absolutely does. Kaizen, in its simplest form, means continuous improvement. It's not about some massive, overnight transformation, but a journey of small, ongoing, incremental changes. Think of it as a whisper of progress, not a shout.
A whisper. I like that. So it's about making things just a little bit better over and over again?
Exactly. Instead of waiting for a big problem that demands a dramatic solution, Kaizen encourages us to constantly look for tiny opportunities to improve. This isn't just for big corporations aiming for efficiency, Lisa. It's a mindset that can be applied to anything in our lives.
That's so relatable. We often think we need to make these huge leaps, like starting a brand new diet or learning a whole new skill in a month. And when we can't, we get discouraged.
Precisely. And that's a common misconception about Kaizen. People sometimes see it as too slow or not impactful enough because it's not dramatic. But the beauty, the power, lies in its sustainability. Imagine trying to move a mountain. If you try to do it all at once, it's impossible. But if you commit to moving just one pebble each day, eventually the mountain will be moved.
That's a fantastic analogy. One pebble at a time. So, Kaizen is about embracing that small, steady progress. How do we actually do that? Where do we even start?
The first step, and it's crucial, is understanding your current state. Kaizen emphasizes Genshi Genbutsu, which translates roughly to go and see for yourself. Before you try to improve something, you need to truly understand where you are right now. What's working? What's not? Where are the inefficiencies?
So, it's about honest observation? No sugarcoating, just seeing things as they are?
Absolutely. It's about identifying the gap between what is and what can be. For instance, if you want to improve your morning routine, you first need to observe your current routine. Are you rushing? Are you missing a key step? Are you feeling stressed before the day even begins? Simply observing allows you to pinpoint areas for those small improvements.
And then, from that observation, you make a tiny change. Maybe it's setting out your clothes the night before, or preparing your coffee maker the evening prior.
Exactly. Those are perfect Kaizen actions. They're small, manageable, and they make your morning just a little bit smoother. Over time, these small changes compound. You're no longer rushing, you're not stressed, and you start your day with a sense of calm and control. Remember how we discussed the compound effect? Kaizen is the philosophy that fuels it.
It really brings it to life. And you mentioned that Kaizen involves everyone. What does that mean in a personal context?
In a personal context, it means you're the primary agent of your improvement. But it also encourages you to involve others in your life if it's relevant. If you're trying to improve family routines, for example, everyone in the family should have a voice and participate in finding those small improvements. It's a collaborative approach to getting better.
That makes sense. It's not about imposing change, but about building it together. So, to recap what we've discussed so far, Kaizen is continuous, incremental improvement. It's about small, consistent steps rather than drastic overhauls. And the first step to implementing Kaizen is to honestly observe your current situation, understanding what is before seeking what can be.
You've got it. And this philosophy is incredibly powerful because it shifts our perception of progress. We stop seeing improvement as a daunting, faraway goal and start seeing it as an ongoing, accessible process. It cultivates a habit of self-reflection and a proactive approach to life.
It makes progress feel less intimidating and more achievable. I can see how this mindset can lead to significant, lasting change without the burnout we often associate with self improvement.
Absolutely. The key is to get comfortable with imperfection in the short term, knowing that consistency will lead to excellence in the long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but Kaizen equips us with the tools to stride confidently, pebble by pebble.
Pebble by pebble. I think that's a great takeaway for this episode. It's all about embracing those small steps. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time, we embraced the whispers of Kaizen, the philosophy of continuous small improvements. Today, we're going to quantify that brilliance and explore the incredible power of the 1%.
The 1%. It sounds so small, almost insignificant, doesn't it? But I'm really curious how we can make something so tiny feel powerful.
That's exactly the magic, Lisa. We often think big leaps are the only way to see change. We want to run a marathon tomorrow or master a new language in a week. But the compound effect teaches us that consistent, tiny improvements can lead to truly extraordinary results over time. Think about it this way. What if you could get just 1% better at something every single day?
Okay, 1% better. So if I'm a baker, maybe I make my bread rise a tiny bit higher, or my cookies are just a little bit more evenly baked.
Precisely. Or if you're a writer, maybe you write one sentence more than you did yesterday, or you spend an extra minute refining a paragraph. It's not about giant leaps, it's about a steady, almost imperceptible upward trend. Now, let's imagine what this looks like mathematically. If you improve by 1% each day, and you do this consistently, something amazing happens over a year.
Are we talking about numbers here? My brain's already preparing for a math lesson.
Don't worry, I'll make it simple. Imagine you start a baseline, let's call it 1. If you improve by 1% on day 1, you're now at 1.01. Simple enough, right? But here's where the compound effect kicks in. On day 2, you improve by 1% of that new number, 1.01. So you're not just adding small increments, you're building on what you've already gained.
So, day 2 is 1.0, 1 plus 1% of 1.01, which is like 1.01 plus that tiny little bit more. It's growing, but still feels like a trickle.
Exactly. And it feels like a trickle for a while. It's easy to get discouraged in those early days. You're doing the work, making the small improvements, but not seeing a dramatically different outcome. Yet, that's the invisible part of the compound effect, the part that requires trust and patience. But let's fast forward. Instead of looking at day 2, let's think about a whole year, 365 days.
A whole year of 1% improvements? What happens then?
This is the mind-blowing part. If you consistently get 1% better every single day for a year, you won't end up just 365% better. Oh no, you'll be approximately 37 times better than when you started.
37 times better? Wait, I need to process that. So, from 1, I end up at around 37? That went from a trickle to a flood very quickly.
That's the power of compounding. 37 times better. Imagine that in any area of your life. If you save just 1% more money each day, or learned 1% more about your job or hobby, that tiny, almost unnoticeable effort, when applied consistently over a long enough period, creates a monumental difference.
It's like planting a tiny seed. On its own, it's barely noticeable. But with daily care, consistent watering, and sunlight, it grows into a mighty tree. We just don't see the tree overnight.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. The seed is your daily 1% improvement. The tree is the incredible result you see months or years down the line. It's why the phrase small doesn't mean insignificant is so crucial here. These small improvements are the building blocks of big achievements. What seems insignificant in the moment can become foundational for massive future success.
So, the challenge is to actually identify where we can make those 1% improvements. It's not always obvious.
Absolutely. But for today, I want you to start thinking about just that. Where in your life could a 1% improvement today make a difference tomorrow? Is it reading an extra page, stretching for 5 extra minutes, or making one healthier food choice?
It's about shifting our mindset from looking for drastic changes to celebrating and consistently pursuing these tiny, incremental gains. Because over time, they literally transform you.
Exactly. Those 1% improvements are the whispers of extraordinary achievement. They might be quiet now, but their cumulative effect is deafening. Remember, getting just 1% better every day for a year can lead to being 37 times better. It's a testament to the fact that consistency and small, focused effort are the true drivers of significant progress.
So, to recap, the 1% improvement might seem tiny, but when compounded daily, it leads to exponential growth. A daily 1% gain can make you 37 times better over a year. The key is to be consistent and trust the process, even when the results aren't immediately visible.
That's the essence of it. Don't underestimate the power of small. Start looking for your 1% wins today. Our next topic will be the compass of clarity, setting your improvement goals. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the incredible power of making tiny 1% improvements. Today, we're going to talk about something essential, knowing where you're going. We're diving into the compass of clarity, setting your improvement goals.
That's such a great way to put it, Alex. If we're just making small changes without knowing the destination, we might end up somewhere we don't want to be, even if we're consistently moving. So, how do we set goals that actually work with this compound effect idea?
Exactly. The core of the compound effect is that small, consistent actions lead to significant results over time. But for those actions to be effective, they need direction. They need a goal. When we talk about goals, many people immediately think of big, overwhelming targets, right? Like, I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to be running a marathon.
Oh, definitely. And those can feel so far away, it's easy to get discouraged before you even start. What's the alternative to those big, scary goals?
The alternative is to set goals that are clear, actionable, and crucially aligned with the process of improvement, not just the outcome. Think about it. The compound effect happens with consistent daily actions. So, our goals should often focus on building those consistent actions. We've all heard of SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. They're a popular framework for a reason.
Right. Specific means knowing exactly what you want. Measurable means you can track your progress. Achievable means it's realistic for you. Relevant means it matters to your overall objectives. And time bound means you set a deadline. It's a solid system.
It is. But for the compound effect, we might want to emphasize the achievable and sometimes even tweak time bound to be more about consistency than a hard finish line. For instance, a smart goal might be, I will run a 5K race in 3 months. That's a great outcome goal. But a compound effect friendly goal might be, I will run for 20 minutes 3 times a week for the next month.
Ah, I see the difference. One focuses on the final achievement, the race, while the other focuses on the consistent habit, the running itself. And that habit, if maintained, naturally leads to being able to run longer distances and eventually that 5K.
Precisely. We're setting goals around the behavior we want to cultivate, the small steps that compound. So, how do we find that direction? How do we know what to focus on? It starts with clarity on what better actually means for you. What area of your life do you want to improve? Is it your health, your career, your relationships, your personal skills?
And once we've identified an area, say health, how do we break it down into manageable goals?
Great question. Let's take health. Instead of just be healthier, we can ask ourselves, what small action, if done consistently, would make me healthier? Maybe it's drinking more water. So a goal could be, I will drink 8 glasses of water every day. Or maybe it's getting more sleep. A goal could be, I'll go to bed by 10:30 p.m. on weeknights. These are concrete actions.
So, we're creating a compass by setting these clear, process-oriented goals. They act as our guideposts. And the beauty is, because they are achievable, we're building momentum with each successful day.
Exactly. And this brings us to another important aspect, identifying your desired direction before you start. Imagine you're sailing. You wouldn't just set off without knowing if you're heading north, south, east, or west. Your goals are your navigational points. For the compound effect, these goals don't have to be rigid absolutes. They can be flexible.
Flexible? That sounds a bit counter to what people usually think about goals.
It does, doesn't it? But think about it. The compound effect thrives on consistency, but life happens. If your goal is, I must exercise for 60 minutes every single day, no exceptions, and you wake up sick one morning, you might feel like you failed and give up for the week. But if your goal is, I will aim for 30 minutes of movement most days, and on the sick day, you only manage 10 minutes of gentle stretching, you've still honored the spirit of the goal and maintained consistency. You haven't broken your streak of effort.
That's a really helpful perspective. It takes the pressure off and focuses on progress, not perfection. So, it's about setting benchmarks for your improvement journey, but also being kind to yourself and adaptable.
Precisely. This approach helps avoid the trap of setting overly ambitious targets that lead to discouragement. We're building sustainable habits. Let's recap what we've discussed for setting effective goals in the spirit of the compound effect. First, identify the area you want to improve. Second, brainstorm small, consistent actions within that area. Third, frame your goals around these actions rather than just the ultimate outcome. Think, do this action rather than achieve this result.
And remember, these goals should be achievable. We're not aiming for heroism, we're aiming for consistency. Think of them as your personal compass, guiding you toward gradual, meaningful improvement, day by day.
And fourth, be flexible. Life throws curveballs. Your goals can adapt too, as long as the underlying commitment to improvement remains strong. The key is to keep moving forward, even if it's just a small step. This focus on process-driven, achievable goals is what will allow those tiny improvements we discussed last time to truly compound into significant change.
So, to sum up, we're moving away from the daunting destination goals and focusing on the journey goals, the daily practices that lead us there. It's about clarity of direction, achievable actions, and the flexibility to keep going.
Indeed. Next episode, the Daily Logbook, Mastering Reflection and Tracking. Welcome back. Last time, we navigated the importance of setting clear goals. Now, let's get practical as we explore reflection and tracking.
That's right, Alex. We've talked about the big picture, the compound effect, taking small steps, aiming for that 1%. But how do we actually see that happening day by day? How do we know we're moving in the right direction?
Exactly, Lisa. And that's where the humble, yet incredibly powerful daily logbook comes in. Think of it as your personal progress journal, your daily report card, and your strategic roadmap all rolled into one. It's about consistently documenting your journey, noticing the subtle shifts, and understanding what's working and what might need a little adjustment.
So, we're not just talking about scribbling down what we did today, are we? It sounds like there's more strategy involved.
There absolutely is. A daily logbook is more than just a record. It's an active tool for self-awareness. The core idea is simple. You dedicate a few minutes each day to simply observe and record your progress, your efforts, and your experiences related to your improvement goals. Remember how we talked about the power of 1% in episode 3? Tracking helps us see that 1%. Without it, those small gains can feel invisible.
That makes so much sense. It's like trying to track your fitness without a scale or a workout log. You might feel like you're doing something, but you don't have concrete proof of progress.
Precisely. So what should go into this logbook? It can be as simple or as detailed as you like, but here's some key elements. First, of course, is what you did. Did you stick to your plan? Did you take that action item you set for yourself? For example, if your goal is to learn a new language, you might log, spent 20 minutes practicing vocabulary.
Okay, so recording the action is the first step. What else?
Next, we note your effort and experience. How did that practice session feel? Was it easy, challenging, frustrating, or energizing? This is crucial because it provides context. Logging spent 20 minutes practicing vocabulary is good, but logging spent 20 minutes practicing vocabulary felt pretty focused today, but struggled with how to express past actions in foreign languages gives you much richer information.
So it's not just what you did, but how you felt doing it and any specific challenges that came up. That helps identify patterns, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that leads us to the third key element, reflections and insights. This is where you start to connect the dots. Did you notice anything new today? Did a particular exercise feel especially effective or ineffective? This is where you can jot down, realized I learn new words better when I associate them with an image. Or perhaps, felt tired today, maybe I need to adjust my practice time.
So it's a space for observation, for noting feelings, and then for drawing conclusions. It's like having a conversation with yourself about your own growth.
Exactly. And finally, a very important part of the logbook is identifying any sticking points or obstacles. Did something prevent you from taking action? Was it a lack of time, motivation, or perhaps an external issue? Logging these helps you see what's hindering your progress, so you can begin to strategize around it. This is where we start to overcome those invisible hurdles we'll discuss later.
This is fantastic. So, to recap the components of a good daily log entry: 1. What you did. 2. Your effort and experience. 3. Your reflections and insights. And 4. Any sticking points or obstacles.
You've got it. Now, how you actually do this consistently? The key is to make it as effortless as possible. Choose a format that works for you. It could be a physical notebook, a dedicated app on your phone, a simple document on your computer. The most important thing is that it's accessible and easy to use at the end of your day, or even during a small break.
And what if you miss a day? Does the whole system collapse?
Absolutely not. This is critical for building momentum and avoiding that comparison trap, which we'll cover in episode 7. If you miss a day, you don't dwell on it or beat yourself up. You simply pick up where you left off the next day. The goal is consistency over perfection. Acknowledging the miss, perhaps noting why it happened, and then moving on is the way forward. The logbook is a tool for understanding, not for judgment.
That's reassuring. So, imagine someone's goal is to improve their public speaking. What might their logbook entry look like?
Great example, Lisa. Let's say today they practice speaking for 15 minutes in front of a mirror. Their log entry might read, "Practice speech opening for 15 minutes. Felt a bit nervous, but focused on maintaining eye contact with my reflection. Notice my tendency to fidget when I pause." Insight: need to consciously practice pausing and using hand gestures more deliberately. Sticking point: felt a little self-conscious about my voice sounding shaky.
And by looking back at these entries, they'd see a pattern of nervousness or fidgeting and could then decide to focus specifically on those areas. It's like building a personal feedback loop.
Precisely. And this logbook isn't just for the big goals. You can use it for any area of improvement. Want to eat healthier? Log your meals and how they made you feel. Want to be more patient? Log moments where you practice patience and the outcome. It's about building that muscle of awareness. Remember, the compound effect works on the small, consistent actions we take. The logbook is your way of seeing and amplifying those actions.
So, by consistently reflecting and tracking, we gain a much clearer picture of our progress. We can identify what's truly moving the needle and where we might be getting stuck, all thanks to this daily practice of observation and honest recording.
Exactly. It's about creating a dialogue with yourself, a process of continuous learning and adaptation. This daily logbook becomes your most valuable ally in understanding your unique improvement journey and recognizing the subtle, yet powerful, 1% shifts that compound over time into significant progress.
It's about making your growth visible, celebrated, and actionable.
Next episode: the invisible hurdles, identifying and overcoming resistance. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the power of the daily logbook to master reflection and tracking. Today, we're discussing identifying and overcoming the invisible hurdles that can derail our progress.
That's right, Alex. It feels like we're making great strides, diligently tracking our small improvements day by day, just like we learned. But sometimes, despite our best efforts, it feels like we hit a wall. Things just stop moving forward.
Exactly. And those are the invisible hurdles we're talking about. They aren't always obvious. They can be internal, like our own thoughts and feelings, or external, like our environment or other people's opinions. The key is learning to recognize them.
So, what are some of these common invisible hurdles? It's easy to blame external factors, but you mentioned internal ones. I'm guessing those are the trickiest.
They definitely can be. One of the most common internal hurdles is procrastination. We all know that feeling, right? You have something important to do, something that aligns with your goals, but you just can't seem to start. You find yourself doing anything else.
Oh, I am very familiar with that. It's like my brain finds 1,000 more urgent and exciting things to do, like reorganizing my sock drawer. And then the guilt sets in because I know I should be working on my goal.
That guilt is another hurdle. It feeds into self-doubt. We start questioning our ability, thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or this is too hard for me. This fear of failure can be paralyzing. It's easier to avoid trying than to try, and potentially not succeed.
That makes sense. If I'm afraid of failing, the safest thing to do is nothing, even if that nothing makes me feel worse in the long run. So, procrastination, fear of failure, and self-doubt. What else?
Another big one is perfectionism. This is where the desire for things to be just right prevents us from starting or finishing. We're so focused on making our small improvement absolutely flawless that we never deem it good enough to move forward. Remember our focus on the 1% improvement? Perfectionism is the enemy of that.
That's a great point. The compound effect thrives on consistency, not flawlessness. So, striving for perfection can actually sabotage the very progress we're trying to build. It's like waiting for the perfect seed before planting. You'll never plant anything that way.
Precisely. And sometimes the hurdle isn't within us at all. It can be external. For example, a lack of support from people around us. If the people closest to you don't understand or even discourage your efforts, it can be incredibly demotivating.
That's tough. It's like trying to swim upstream when everyone else is going the other way. And what about our environment? Like distractions?
Environmental distractions are huge. Think about constant notifications from our phones, and noisy living space, or even just clutter. These things pull our attention away from our intended actions, making it harder to build that focused momentum we discussed. They create friction.
So, friction in our environment, friction in our minds with procrastination and self doubt, and friction from external opinions. It sounds like a lot to contend with. How do we actually overcome these invisible hurdles?
The first step, as we've been emphasizing, is awareness. You can't overcome something if you don't know it's there. When you notice yourself stalling, feeling reluctant, or making excuses, pause. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Is this procrastination? Is it fear?
So, using our logbook again, not just for tracking progress, but for tracking these moments of resistance. Like, Wednesday, felt resistance to writing for 15 minutes. Reason, fear of not being original.
Excellent idea, Lisa. That's perfect application of reflection. Once you identify the hurdle, you can tailor your approach. For procrastination, try breaking down the task into ridiculously small steps. We've talked about the 1% in episode 3, right? Make the first step so easy it's almost impossible to resist.
Like, instead of write for 30 minutes, it's open the document. Or write one sentence.
Exactly. For fear of failure and self-doubt, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and that failure is a learning opportunity, not an endpoint. Reframe it. What can I learn from this attempt? Instead of I failed.
That reframing is powerful. It shifts the focus from outcome to process. And what about perfectionism? How do we fight that urge to make everything perfect?
Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Set a realistic time limit for a task. And when the time is up, consider it done, regardless of its perceived perfection. Focus on completing it, not on creating a masterpiece. Remember, consistency builds compound growth. A perfectly done task once won't do as much as a slightly imperfect task done every day.
That's the core of the compound effect, isn't it? Small, imperfect actions adding up. So, for external resistance like unsupportive people, try to have calm conversations explaining your goals and why they matter to you. If that doesn't work, learn to set boundaries. And for environmental distractions, actively create a more conducive workspace. Minimize notifications, declutter your desk, set specific focus times.
Precisely. It's about building resilience. Think of yourself like a plant pushing through soil. The soil is the resistance, and you're determined to reach the sunlight. Each time you identify and overcome a hurdle, you get a little stronger, a little more resilient.
I like that analogy. So, to recap, we face invisible hurdles like procrastination, fear of failure, self doubt, perfectionism, unsupportive people, and environmental distractions. The first step to overcoming them is awareness, identifying what's holding us back, perhaps by using our daily logbook to note these moments.
Then, we address each hurdle with specific strategies, breaking down tasks for procrastination, practicing self-compassion, and reframing for fear, giving ourselves permission to be imperfect for perfectionism, setting boundaries, and communicating for external resistance, and actively managing our environment for distractions.
It's about building that internal strength and making conscious choices to keep moving forward, even when it's difficult. This really builds on our previous discussions about setting clear goals and tracking our progress. These hurdles are the tests of our commitment.
Absolutely. And remember, these hurdles aren't roadblocks, they're actually opportunities. They shine a light on areas where we can grow stronger and more determined. By facing them head on, we're not just progressing, we're becoming more capable versions of ourselves.
It's empowering to think of them that way. So, we've learned to identify and plan for these invisible struggles.
Next episode, the comparison trap, why your journey is unique. Welcome back. Last time, we discussed overcoming invisible hurdles. Today, we're talking about the comparison trap.
Oh, the comparison trap. I think almost everyone listening can relate to this one. It's so easy to see what someone else is doing, how much faster they seem to be progressing, and then feel a bit deflated.
Exactly, Lisa. And that feeling can actually sabotage the very compound effect we're trying to build. When we're constantly looking sideways at others, we're not looking forward on our own path. We're not appreciating the small, consistent steps that are actually building our momentum,
So, how does this comparison trap hinder the compound effect specifically? I imagine it's not just about feeling bad.
right? The compound effect thrives on small, consistent actions over time. But when you're comparing yourself to someone who perhaps has been on their journey longer, or has different circumstances, or even just presents a curated highlight reel online, you can become discouraged. That discouragement can lead to a slowdown in your own efforts, a less frequent application of those small steps. And if those small steps happen less often, the compounding effect is dampened. It's like taking fewer positive actions each day. The snowball that's supposed to grow just doesn't get enough little pushes.
That makes so much sense. It's like you're so busy looking at someone else's enormous snowball, you forget to keep rolling your own, even if it's just a little bit.
A perfect analogy. And this trap is intensified by social media. We see people announcing major achievements, showcasing perfect routines, and it's so easy to forget that we're not seeing their struggles, their setbacks, or the years of quiet effort that led to that moment. We're only seeing the tip of the iceberg.
So, the core problem is this focus on outward appearances of success rather than our own internal process of growth. What's the key to breaking free from that?
The shift has to be from external validation to internal appreciation. It's about cultivating a mindset where your progress is measured against your own past self, not against anyone else's present. We need to celebrate our own journey, our own unique trajectory.
Measuring against our own past self. Can you give us some concrete ways to do that? Because that sounds like a great principle, but what does it look like in practice?
Absolutely. One of the most powerful tools is the daily logbook we discussed earlier. Remember when we talked about tracking not just what you did, but how you felt and what you learned? Reviewing that logbook isn't about comparing your entries to someone else's. It's about looking at today's entry and comparing it to last week's or last month's. Did you show up, even if it was a slight variation? Did you learn something new? That's progress.
Ah, so it's revisiting your own history of effort, not someone else's highlight reel.
Precisely. Another technique is to actively reframe your thoughts. When you catch yourself comparing, acknowledge it, and then consciously redirect your focus. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I accomplished today, or can I focus on accomplishing in the next hour, that moves my needle forward? It's about anchoring yourself back to your personal goals and your personal timeline.
That sounds like a conscious act of mental redirection. It requires practice, I'm guessing.
It absolutely does. And it ties into acknowledging the uniqueness of every journey. Your starting point, your resources, your life circumstances, your learning style, all of these are unique to you. Someone else's path might involve resources or opportunities you simply don't have, or vice versa. Try to replicate their steps exactly is like trying to grow a plant in the wrong soil. It's not set up for success.
So comparison is not just demotivating, it's fundamentally misunderstanding how growth works for an individual. Are there specific areas where this comparison trap is particularly damaging?
It can be damaging in any area, but especially in skill acquisition and personal development. For instance, imagine learning a new language. You might see someone who is suddenly fluent in 6 months and feel like you'll never get there because you're still struggling with basic grammar after 3 months. But you don't know their learning method, how many hours they dedicated daily, or their prior linguistic experience. By focusing on their fluency, you miss the value of your own slow, steady progress, the vocabulary you're acquiring, the sentence structures you're beginning to grasp. Those are the seeds of fluency.
It's about trusting your own process, even when it feels slower than someone else's. This leads to that idea of celebrating your own progress. How can we intentionally do that without it feeling forced or inauthentic?
Start small. Recognize any step that aligns with your goals as a victory. Did you stick to your morning routine for 3 days straight? That's a win. Did you resist the urge to scroll mindlessly for an extra 10 minutes to read a book chapter? That's a win. It's about acknowledging effort and consistency, not just grand outcomes. You can even jot these down in your logbook as micro wins.
I like that. Micro wins. It reframes these small actions as genuinely significant. So, to recap, Alex, we're saying that the comparison trap, often fueled by social media, can derail our compound improvement by focusing us outward instead of inward. It can discourage us, diminishing our consistent efforts and thus weakening the compound effect.
Exactly. And the solution is to consciously shift our focus to our own unique journey. We do this by regularly reviewing our personal progress, often using our logbooks, by practicing mental redirection when we catch ourselves comparing, and by celebrating our own unique accomplishments, no matter how small, as micro wins. This keeps our efforts focused inward, nurturing our own growth without the detrimental influence of external benchmarks.
So, instead of asking, am I as far along as they are? We should be asking, am I further along than I was yesterday? And celebrating that personal advancement.
You've got it. Trust your path, measure your own progress, and keep those small, consistent steps coming. Because ultimately, your journey is yours alone, and that's where the real magic of compounding happens. Next episode: the momentum machine, building and sustaining energy. Welcome back. Last time, we explored how to overcome the comparison trap, understanding that your progress is uniquely yours. Today, we're diving into something incredibly exciting: building and sustaining momentum.
Momentum. That word just feels so energizing. It's that feeling when things start clicking and you feel almost unstoppable.
Exactly, Lisa. And that's the core of what we're talking about today: the momentum machine. When those small, compound improvements start to add up, momentum becomes your most powerful ally. It's the force that propels you forward, making further progress feel easier and more natural.
So, how do we actually build this machine? Is it just good luck, or are there specific things we can do?
Great question. It's definitely not just luck. It's about strategically creating positive feedback loops. Think back to when we discussed the importance of tracking and reflection. That's the foundation. When you're tracking your progress, you're collecting evidence of your wins, no matter how small.
Right. So, if I'm trying to read more and I track that I read for 15 minutes yesterday and 20 minutes today, I see that upward trend. That's the evidence.
Precisely. And then, when you reflect on that progress, you not only acknowledge the accomplishment, but you also reinforce the positive feeling associated with it. This is crucial. It's like building tiny engines of motivation. Each small success is a fuel source for the next action.
I see. So, every time I log a win, it's not just data, it's also a mini pep talk to myself.
You've got it. And this leads to leveraging those small successes to fuel further action. When you see that you've successfully completed a small task, it builds confidence and reduces the perceived effort required for the next. slightly larger task. It's a snowball effect. Imagine a tiny snowball rolling down a hill. It gathers more snow, gets bigger, and rolls faster.
That's a fantastic analogy. So the small wins are like the initial tiny snowball. But what about keeping that momentum going when you hit a lull or a challenge? How do we keep the machine running smoothly?
That's where sustaining the energy comes in. One of the most effective ways is to make your improvements as effortless as possible to start. This connects to the concept of habit building we'll discuss in a future episode. But for momentum, it means setting yourself up for success. If your goal is to exercise, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, prep your meals in advance. You're removing as many potential barriers as possible.
So, it's about making the desired action the path of least resistance. Smart.
Absolutely. Another key is celebrating those small victories. Not just acknowledging them, but genuinely celebrating them. This could be as simple as a mental pat on the back, a moment of genuine gratitude, or even a small, healthy reward. This reinforces the positive association and makes you want to repeat the behavior. Think of it as giving your momentum machine a little tune-up and a little treat.
I like that. It's not about waiting for a huge achievement to feel good about yourself. We can feel good about the small steps along the way, and that feeling can actually drive us forward.
Exactly. And to sustain that energy, we need to be mindful of our overall well-being. This might sound obvious, but burnout is a momentum killer. So, prioritizing sleep, proper nutrition, and even short breaks for mindfulness or stretching can significantly impact your sustained energy levels. They are not distractions from your goals. They are essential components of keeping your momentum machine fueled.
It's like realizing that taking care of yourself is part of the process, not an obstacle to it.
Precisely. And this idea of building and sustaining momentum is deeply interconnected with our earlier discussions. Remember when we talked about the power of the 1% improvement? That small, daily gain is the very seed from which momentum grows. And the daily logbook from episode 5? That's your primary tool for observing and celebrating those seeds becoming sprouts, fueling your momentum.
It's all coming together now. The tracking shows us the progress, the reflection motivates us, making things easier removes friction, and self-care keeps us energized. It's a holistic system.
It is. To recap, building momentum is about creating a cycle of positive reinforcement. You start by tracking your small achievements, reflecting on them to acknowledge progress, and then leveraging those successes to tackle the next step. To sustain this momentum, you minimize friction by making desired actions easier, celebrate your victories to reinforce positive behavior, and prioritize your well-being to maintain energy. This creates a powerful, self-sustaining cycle that propels you forward, making consistent improvement feel not just possible, but inevitable.
So, it's about recognizing that every small step forward builds upon the last, creating an accelerating force for positive change. It's the compound effect in action, but driven by our own consistent effort and smart practices.
That's the momentum machine in essence. It's the engine that keeps us moving, getting better every single day.
This is so inspiring, Alex. It makes me feel like I can really harness this power in my own life.
That's the goal, Lisa. And for our listeners, too. We've laid the groundwork. Now it's about putting these principles into practice. Next episode, the art of the micro win, celebrating small victories. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the momentum machine and how to build and sustain your energy. Today, we're discussing the art of the micro win.
That's right, Alex. We've been talking about consistent effort, the power of small steps, and building momentum. But sometimes, especially on longer journeys, it's easy to lose sight of how far we've actually come. That's where micro wins come in.
Exactly. Think of it this way. A marathon isn't won by a single giant leap, but by thousands of consistent steps. Each of those steps, when you really think about it, is a tiny win. A micro win is simply acknowledging and celebrating those small, incremental successes along your path of improvement. It's about recognizing progress, no matter how small it seems.
So, why is it so important to celebrate these little victories? I mean, we're focused on the bigger picture, right?
That's a great question, Lisa. And it's a common misconception. While the big goals are crucial, focusing solely on them can be daunting. Micro wins act as powerful motivators. They provide immediate positive reinforcement, telling your brain, hey, you did a good job. Keep going. This positive feedback is like fuel for your improvement engine.
So, it's about building positive associations with the effort we're putting in. Like, when I do this thing, even a small part of it, I get a little reward, which then makes me want to do it again.
Precisely. And this reinforces the behaviors that lead to your larger goals. Remember when we discussed momentum? Micro wins are a key component of building and sustaining that momentum. They prevent burnout and keep you engaged. Imagine you're trying to learn a new language. Mastering a single new vocabulary word or correctly forming a simple sentence might seem tiny, but each of those is a micro win. They add up and make the larger goal of fluency feel much more achievable and less overwhelming.
That makes so much sense. It's like collecting little tokens of progress. But how do we actually implement this? What are some practical ways to create and celebrate these micro wins?
There are so many creative ways. One effective method is simply keeping a win journal or a progress log. This isn't just for tracking big achievements, but for noting down those small victories. Did you stick to your morning routine for 3 days straight? That's a micro win to write down. Did you choose a healthy snack instead of an unhealthy one? Micro win. Did you spend just 15 minutes practicing a new skill? Micro win.
So, the act of physically writing it down gives it more weight?
Absolutely. The act of acknowledgement is powerful. Another technique is to create a visual progress tracker. This could be anything from a jar where you drop a marble for each small win, to a simple chart on your wall that you mark. Seeing that collection of marbles or those check marks grow provides a tangible representation of your progress. It's a visual reminder that you are moving forward.
I like the idea of a visual tracker. It's so much more immediate than just a mental note. What else?
You can also implement a system of small, immediate rewards. This doesn't have to be anything grand. It could be taking a few minutes to enjoy a cup of tea, listening to a favorite song, or even just taking a deep, satisfying breath and saying to yourself, well done. The key is that the reward is tied directly to the micro win and happens shortly after.
So, it's not about a big reward at the end of a huge milestone, but smaller, more frequent acknowledgments along the way?
Exactly. This immediate gratification is a powerful psychological tool. It trains your brain to associate the effort with positive outcomes. Another strategy is to share your micro wins with someone. This could be a friend, a family member, or a mentor. Simply verbalizing your small success can amplify its impact and provide external validation.
It's interesting how different types of reinforcement work. Some people respond more to an internal sense of accomplishment, while others benefit from external acknowledgement.
Precisely. And it's important to tailor your approach to what resonates with you. You can also try creating win rituals. For example, after completing a challenging task that represents a micro win, you might do a quick 2-minute dance or stretch, or simply give yourself a silent nod of approval in the mirror. These small, consistent actions become anchors for your progress.
When rituals, I love that. It sounds almost like a game, making it fun and engaging. This really ties back to the idea of making improvement a sustainable part of our lives, rather than a chore.
It absolutely does. And it's important to remember that micro wins aren't just for big personal development goals. They apply to every area of life. Did you manage to have a difficult conversation constructively? Micro win. Did you organize a small part of your workspace? Micro win. Did you show kindness to someone when you didn't have to? That's definitely a micro win.
So, to recap for our listeners, Micro wins are the small, everyday successes that fuel our progress. They provide immediate positive reinforcement, build momentum, and prevent burnout by making our improvement journey feel more manageable and rewarding.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. We can celebrate them by journaling, using visual trackers, setting up small immediate rewards, sharing them with others, or creating simple win rituals. The goal is to actively acknowledge and appreciate every step forward, no matter how small it may appear. By doing so, we reinforce our positive habits and keep our motivation high.
It's about shifting our focus from solely the destination to appreciating the journey and recognizing that every single step counts. Celebrating these micro wins keeps our spirits lifted and our commitment strong.
Indeed. And as we continue on our path of compound improvement, remember the power of these small victories. They are the building blocks of extraordinary results. Happy learning! Welcome back to Better Every Day. Last time, we talked about celebrating those small, everyday wins, the micro wins that keep us motivated. Now, we're diving into something that takes that momentum and amplifies it, the skill stacker.
The skill stacker. I'm already intrigued, Alex. We've been talking about consistent small improvements, the compound effect. How does stacking skills fit into that? Is it about learning a bunch of things at once?
That's a great question, Lisa, and it gets right to the heart of it. It's not about learning everything at once, but about strategically building one skill on top of another. Think of it like this. Imagine you're building with Legos. You don't just grab any brick. You select specific bricks that fit together to create something larger and more complex. Skill stacking is the same idea, but with your abilities.
So, it's about recognizing that new skills aren't learned in a vacuum. They can reinforce each other.
Exactly. And the real magic happens when the combination of skills you acquire creates an advantage that none of those individual skills could provide alone. It's about synergy, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. For instance, if you're a great writer and also a decent public speaker, you're already more valuable than someone who's just one or the other.
That makes sense. So, how does this amplify our abilities? If I learn to code and then I learn about marketing, what's the amplification there?
Excellent example. If you're a coder, you can build amazing things. But if you also understand marketing, you can now not only build it, but also understand how to promote it, how to reach an audience, and how to monetize it. You've moved from being a builder and a marketer. That combination can open doors to entrepreneurship, freelancing, or even unique roles within established companies that a pure coder or a pure marketer might not qualify for.
It's like unlocking a new level of capability. You're not just adding skills, you're creating a new, more powerful toolset.
Precisely. And the beauty of the compound effect is that each new skill you learn might become easier to learn because of the skills you already possess. For example, learning a new language might be easier if you've already learned another one. You understand the process of memorization, of grammar structures, and of cultural nuances. Your skill of learning itself has improved.
That's a fantastic point. So, it's not just about the skills themselves, but the meta skill of learning. Every skill we acquire makes us a better learner for the next one.
You've got it. It's a virtuous cycle. This concept was popularized by Scott Adams, the creator of the Dilbert comic strip. He's not a world-class expert in any single thing, but he's pretty good at a lot of things, and he's combined those skills to create something unique and successful. He argues that becoming one of the top 1% in any one skill is incredibly difficult, but becoming one of the top 25% in multiple skills can make you a standout, a real differentiator.
That's a much more achievable and perhaps less intimidating way to think about it. Not everyone needs to be a virtuoso at everything, but being competent in several areas can be a superpower.
Absolutely. And it's about being intentional. It's not just about randomly picking up skills. It's about looking at your long-term goals and identifying which skills, when combined, will best help you achieve them. What unique problems can you solve with a specific blend of abilities?
So, for someone listening, how do they start identifying the skills to stack? Where do they begin this intentional process?
Start with self-awareness, which we've touched on before. What are you naturally good at? What do you enjoy? What are your career aspirations or personal goals? Then, research which complementary skills would add the most value. If you want to be a great project manager, for instance, strong communication skills are crucial. But so is understanding basic data analysis, or perhaps even a bit of psychology to better manage team dynamics.
It's like finding the right puzzle pieces that fit together to create your desired picture.
A perfect analogy, Lisa. And remember, this is part of our overall compound effect journey. Each skill you build and then stack compounds your overall capability and potential. It's a powerful way to accelerate your growth beyond just improving one thing at a time. You're not just getting 1% better at one task. You're creating a whole new platform of capabilities.
So, to recap the key takeaways for our listeners, skill stacking isn't about learning everything but strategically combining skills. The true power comes from the synergy of these combined skills, creating unique advantages. Each new skill can make learning subsequent skills easier, thus compounding your learning ability itself. And finally, by aiming for high competence in several areas rather than mastery in one, you can become a standout individual.
That's a brilliant summary, Lisa. The skill stacker principle is a fantastic way to amplify your growth and the impact of your efforts. It's about building a unique personal advantage, one carefully chosen skill at a time, and letting them work together.
And it really builds on everything we've discussed so far, from those initial small steps to now building a more complex, integrated set of abilities.
Indeed, that leads us beautifully into our next discussion, the patience principle. We'll explore the vital virtue of the long game and how true mastery and the most significant compound effects often require sustained effort over time. Happy learning! Welcome back. Last time, we explored how stacking skills can amplify your abilities. Today, let's talk about patience.
Patience. It's such a buzzword, isn't it? We hear it all the time, but when you're putting in effort and not seeing dramatic results, it can feel like the hardest thing in the world. I'm really glad we're dedicating time to this.
Absolutely, Lisa. The compound effect, as we've discussed, isn't about overnight transformations. It's about those small, consistent actions that build over time. And that building process, by its very nature, requires patience. Think of it like planting a tree. You don't plant a seed one day and expect a fully grown oak the next morning.
No, you water it, you give it sunlight, you protect it, and you wait. You have to trust that the process is working even when you don't see immediate, visible changes. That feels like a good analogy for personal improvement, too. We're nurturing our own growth.
Exactly. And that trust is a huge part of it. When you're working on a new skill, or trying to break a bad habit, or building a new positive routine, progress can often feel incredibly slow. You might practice for an hour every day, but still feel like you're not improving fast enough. This is where frustration can creep in, and that's a major roadblock.
It is. And it's so easy to fall into the comparison trap again, isn't it? You see someone else who seems to have mastered something quickly, and you start to question your own efforts. But that's not the compound effect at work for them, or for you.
Right? What you're likely seeing, or what you might be assuming, isn't the whole story. Many people who appear to have rapid success have actually been putting in consistent effort behind the scenes for a very long time. Their overnight success was years in the making. The key is to focus on your journey and your rate of progress, and to understand that steady wins the race.
So, how do we actively cultivate this patience, especially when we're feeling impatient? What are some practical strategies?
The first is to reframe your expectations. Instead of expecting a destination, focus on the journey. Celebrate the small wins we talked about, but also celebrate the process itself. Appreciate showing up, putting in the effort, and staying committed, even when the results aren't shouting at you. This is about acknowledging the effort, not just the outcome.
So, it's about appreciating the consistency of the action, not just the progress it yields. That makes sense. It's like valuing the act of going to the gym, not just the number on the scale.
Precisely. Another crucial strategy is to understand that plateaus are normal. Every growth journey has periods where it feels like you're stuck. You're not necessarily going backward, you're just in a consolidation phase. Your brain and body are integrating what you've learned, preparing for the next leap forward. Think of a climber reaching a ledge. They pause, catch their breath, then plan the next move. They don't try to leap to the summit from that ledge.
That's a great way to look at it. Instead of seeing those plateaus as failures, we can see them as necessary resting and planning points. It helps to remove some of that pressure and frustration.
Absolutely. And this ties directly into something we touched on earlier, reflection. Regularly reviewing your progress, even when it seems slow, can reveal the subtle but significant improvements you've made. You might not notice you're faster, but if you look back at your recorded times from a few months ago, you might be pleasantly surprised. This kind of reflection fuels your belief in the process.
And that belief is powerful when you're feeling discouraged. When I'm feeling impatient, it often stems from a lack of clear, tangible evidence of my efforts paying off. So, tracking and reflecting becomes super important.
They are. And part of patience is also about practicing delayed gratification. This means being willing to forego immediate pleasure or comfort for a greater long-term reward. It's choosing the healthy meal over the junk food, even when you're craving it, because you know it contributes to your long-term health goals. It's putting in the extra study time now, rather than going out with friends, because you want to excel in your studies.
That's a tough one for many of us. Our modern world is so geared towards instant results and instant gratification. Learning to embrace the delayed reward is a true test of patience.
It really is. And finally, remember that the compound effect is amplified by time. The longer you stick with a positive habit or a learning process, the more dramatic the results become. An improvement that's 10% better today might only be a small change. But if that 10% compounded daily for a year, it's a vastly different outcome. Patience allows time to do its magical work.
It really highlights that the long game isn't just a nice idea. It's an essential component of how compound growth actually functions. Without patience, we risk abandoning our efforts just before we're about to see significant breakthroughs.
Exactly. So, to recap, patience in the context of compound growth means embracing the journey, reframing expectations to focus on consistent effort, understanding that plateaus are normal, using reflection to see subtle progress, practicing delayed gratification, and trusting that time is your most powerful ally. It's about cultivating a deep-seated belief in the process, even when the immediate rewards aren't obvious.
That's a fantastic summary. Patience isn't about passively waiting, it's about actively trusting and persisting through the process, knowing that consistent effort over time yields extraordinary results.
Welcome back to Better Every Day. Last time, we explored the patience principle, understanding that true growth takes time. Today, we're diving into the habit builder, anchoring your improvements.
And that's such a crucial link, Alex. We've talked about the compound effect, the power of small steps, and the need for patience. But how do we make those small steps a regular, consistent part of our lives? That's where habits come in, isn't it?
Exactly, Lisa. Habits are the bedrock of consistent improvement. They're the automatic behaviors that guide our days, often without us consciously thinking about them. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't debate whether to do it each morning. It's just something you do. That's a well-formed habit.
So, if habits are the automatic pilot for our actions, how do we program positive improvements into that system?
That's the million-dollar question. The science of habit formation gives us some powerful tools. One of the most effective is known as habit stacking. It's a concept we touched upon subtly when discussing Kaizen, but today we're formalizing it.
Habit stacking. I like the sound of that. It sounds like stacking one habit on top of another.
You've got it. The idea is to link a new habit you want to build onto an existing habit you already do automatically. The existing habit acts as the trigger or the cue for the new habit.
Okay, so if I have a habit of drinking my morning coffee, I could stack a new habit onto that?
Precisely. Let's say you want to start reading more. You could create a new habit. After I finish my first cup of coffee, I will read for 5 minutes. The coffee drinking is your existing automatic cue. The reading is the new habit you want to anchor.
That makes it so much easier to start. Instead of remembering to read at some random point in the day, you're reminded by something you're already doing. It's like using a familiar path to discover a new destination.
That's a great analogy. And this taps into what psychologists call the cue routine reward loop, famously explored by Charles Duhigg. The cue is the trigger, the routine is the habit itself, and the reward is the positive feeling or outcome you get from completing it.
So, in the coffee example, the cue is finishing the coffee, the routine is reading for 5 minutes. And what's the reward?
The reward can be multifaceted. It could be the satisfaction of learning something new, the quiet enjoyment of a few pages, or even just the feeling of accomplishment from sticking to your goal. You want to make the reward feel good, even if it's small, to reinforce the habit.
So it's not just about doing the action, but also about feeling good about doing it. That's why celebrating those micro wins we discussed a few episodes ago is so important. It reinforces the reward part of the loop.
Absolutely. And it's important to start small. Remember the 1% rule? When you're habit stacking, make the new habit incredibly easy to start. Reading for 5 minutes is much more achievable than deciding to read for an hour. The goal is consistency, not immediate massive output.
So keep the routine short and simple when you're building. Don't expect yourself to run a marathon the first time you decide to start jogging. Maybe it's just putting on your running shoes.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. Putting on your running shoes is the small, achievable routine. The reward is that you've taken a step towards your fitness goal and you feel prepared. Over time, that routine can grow to include a short jog than a longer one.
This habit stacking sounds very practical. Are there other ways to make habits stick?
Another powerful approach is to make your desired habits obvious and your unwanted habits invisible. Again, this comes back to creating the right environment around you.
Obvious and invisible. So if I want to drink more water, I should make the water bottle really easy to see and reach?
Yes, keep a water bottle on your desk, on your kitchen counter, or by your bedside. Make the cue, seeing the bottle, impossible to ignore. Conversely, if you want to reduce mindless snacking, don't keep tempting snacks in plain sight. Keep them hidden away, perhaps in a difficult-to-access cupboard.
That makes so much sense. You're manipulating your environment to make the desired behavior the path of least resistance. It's like setting up the stage for success before the play even begins.
That's a fantastic way to put it. And remember, repetition is key. The more you repeat a habit in response to a cue, the stronger that neural pathway becomes. It moves from a conscious effort to an automatic response.
So, we're establishing a consistent cue, performing a simple routine, and enjoying a satisfying reward, all within an environment that supports our goals.
Yes, and as we grow this, we can gradually increase the difficulty of the routine. But the foundation is making it incredibly easy to start. Think of it like setting up a ramp. Once that's in place, you can gradually make the incline steeper.
This really brings together all the core principles we've discussed. The compound effect is built on these small, consistent actions. Kaizen and the 1% rule are about making those actions tiny at first. Setting clear goals and reflecting in a logbook helps us identify which habits to build and track our progress.
In the Habit Builder, this episode is about cementing those small, positive changes so they become second nature. It's about making improvement so ingrained that it requires less willpower over time.
So, to recap for our listeners, habits are automatic behaviors that can either help or hinder our progress. We can build positive habits by stacking them onto existing routines, making them the cue. We should also make desired habits obvious in our environment and unwanted habits invisible. The key is starting small, ensuring a positive reward, and consistent repetition to strengthen the habit loop.
Precisely. You're essentially designing your day to make your desired future the default.
This is such a practical and empowering concept. It makes the idea of long-term improvement feel much more achievable, less like a battle of constant willpower.
And that's the power of the Habit Builder. It transforms effort into automaticity. Happy learning. Welcome back to Better Every Day. Last time, we dove deep into how to build rock-solid habits.
That's right, Alex. We've been focused on building momentum, on making those small, consistent improvements. But how do we know if what we're doing is actually working? How do we make sure our efforts are pointing us in the right direction?
Exactly. And that brings us to today's topic, the feedback loop. Think of it as your personal adjustment dial for continuous improvement. This is where we learn to actively seek out information about our progress and use that information to get even better. It's a natural follow-up to the daily reflection and tracking we discussed back in episode 5.
So, a feedback loop. It sounds a bit technical, but I imagine it's something we all do, perhaps without even realizing it.
You're spot on, Lisa. At its core, a feedback loop is simply a cycle where the output of a process is used as an input for the next iteration. In our context of personal growth, it means we take an action, we observe the result of that action, and then we use what we observe to inform our next action. It's a constant process of doing, observing, and adjusting.
Okay, so it's like practicing a skill. You try it, you see how you did, and then you adjust your technique for the next try.
Precisely. Imagine learning to play a musical instrument. You play a piece, maybe you hit a wrong note. That wrong note is feedback. You then listen to yourself, perhaps slow it down, and try again, focusing on correcting that specific mistake. That's a feedback loop in action. And for lasting compound improvement, we need to be intentional about this for all areas of our lives, not just musical instruments.
And this feedback can come from a few different places, right? You mentioned our environment and our own reflections.
Absolutely. We can break down feedback into two main types, external feedback and internal feedback. External feedback is what we get from the world around us. This could be from other people, a colleague, a mentor, even a customer. It can also be from data. If you're tracking your fitness, your workout data is external feedback. If you're trying to save money, your bank statement is external feedback.
So, external feedback is like looking in a mirror to see how you're doing.
That's a great analogy, and it can be incredibly valuable because others might see things we miss, or data can reveal patterns we're not consciously aware of. However, external feedback can sometimes be subjective or even biased. That's why internal feedback is just as crucial.
Internal feedback. That's our own judgment then? Our gut feeling?
It's more than just a gut feeling, though that plays a part. Internal feedback is your own honest assessment of your actions and their outcomes. It's what you learned from your own experience, how you felt about your performance, and what insights you gained from reflecting on the process. Remember all that reflection we talked about in episode 5? That's the foundation for effective internal feedback.
So, our deliberate reflection, our journaling, our self-assessment, that's us generating our own internal feedback.
Exactly. And the power comes when we can effectively integrate both. Think of it like this. You're trying to improve your public speaking. External feedback might come from audience members saying your presentation was clear, but you spoke too quickly. Internal feedback might be you noticing yourself feeling anxious and rushing through your points because of that anxiety.
Ah, I see. So if I just relied on the external feedback, I might try to slow down without understanding why I was rushing. But with the internal feedback, I can address the anxiety itself, which then naturally helps me slow down.
Precisely. The goal is to create a robust feedback loop that informs continuous improvement. So, how do we actively cultivate these loops? First, we need to be clear about what we're trying to achieve. Remember episode 4 on setting clear goals? That clarity is your compass here. What does success look like? What metrics will tell you if you're moving toward it?
So before even getting feedback, we need to know what we're measuring against.
Yes. Then, we need to actively seek out feedback. Don't wait for it to come to you. For external feedback, this might mean asking for constructive criticism from a trusted friend, a colleague, or a mentor. It means being open to hearing it, even if it's not entirely positive. For internal feedback, this means dedicating time to truly reflect. Ask yourself, what went well? What could have gone better? What did I learn?
And it's not just about getting the feedback, it's about interpreting it, right? Not all feedback is equally useful.
That's a critical point, Lisa. We need to learn to filter and interpret. Is the feedback specific and actionable? Does it align with your goals? Is it coming from a credible source? With external feedback, it's important to look for patterns. If multiple people are giving you similar advice or observations, it's probably worth paying attention.
And with internal feedback, it's about being honest with yourself without being overly harsh.
Absolutely. Self-compassion is key here. Acknowledge your efforts, but also be truthful about where you can improve. Once you've gathered and interpreted the feedback, the final, and arguably most important, step is to adjust. This is where the loop closes and leads to your next iteration.
So, we use the insights from the feedback to modify our actions, our strategies, or even our goals, and then we start the process again.
Exactly. Let's say you're working on improving your sleep hygiene based on feedback that you're often tired. External feedback might be data from a sleep tracker showing inconsistent sleep times. Internal feedback might be you recognizing you're scrolling on your phone late into the night. The adjustment? You decide to put your phone away an hour before bed. Then, you monitor the results of that change. That monitoring is the start of the next feedback loop.
It's like a constant course correction. It prevents us from getting stuck doing something that isn't working.
It's the engine of adaptation. This feedback loop, this cycle of action, observation, and adjustment is what allows us to refine our strategies, to become more efficient, and to accelerate our progress. It takes our initial efforts, our small steps, our habits, and makes them significantly more effective over time. Remember the compound effect? This feedback loop magnifies it.
So, to recap for our listeners, a feedback loop is the cycle of taking action, observing the results, and using those observations to adjust your next action. We get feedback by looking outward to external sources like data or other people, and by looking inward through honest self reflection. The key is to actively seek this feedback, interpret it wisely, and then make deliberate adjustments to your approach.
And by doing this consistently, we ensure we're not just busy, but we're busy accomplishing what truly matters, getting better every single day.
It's all about being an active architect of our own improvement.
Indeed. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we dove deep into the feedback loop, learning how to adjust our approach for continuous refinement. Today, we're venturing beyond ourselves to explore something truly powerful, the ripple effect of our own growth.
The ripple effect. I love that term. It's like when you drop a pebble into a pond, and those outward circles just keep expanding. You're saying our personal improvement can create those outward circles?
Exactly, Lisa. It's one of the most inspiring aspects of the compound effect. When you consistently work on becoming better, especially in areas that bring you joy and fulfillment, that positive energy and those new skills don't just stay with you. They naturally start to touch the lives of those around you.
So it's not just about personal gain, then? It's about how our journey can positively influence our relationships, our work, even our community?
Precisely. Think back to our discussion about the compound effect. Those small, consistent actions leading to significant long-term results. Well, the ripple effect is the outward manifestation of that principle. When you're more patient, more skilled, more resilient, or more knowledgeable, you bring that improved version of yourself to every interaction.
Let's break that down. How does it show up in relationships? If I'm working on my listening skills, for instance, and getting better at truly hearing what others say, how does that ripple out?
That's a fantastic example. When you become a better listener, your loved ones feel more heard, more understood, and more valued. This strengthens your bonds. They might feel more comfortable opening up to you, trusting you more. This improved communication can diffuse potential conflicts before they even start, creating a more harmonious environment within your family or friendships. It's subtle, but incredibly impactful.
It's like you're creating a more positive atmosphere just by being a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. And consider your work environment. When you're focused on getting better, maybe mastering a new skill or improving your productivity, you become a more valuable team member. This could lead to you taking on more interesting projects, mentoring newer colleagues, or even driving innovation. Your positive attitude and your enhanced capabilities can be contagious, lifting the morale and performance of the entire team.
So, my success can indirectly contribute to the success of others?
It absolutely can, and it goes beyond just competence. When people see you consistently putting in the effort, staying committed to improvement, and demonstrating resilience, it can inspire them to do the same. They might notice your progress and think, if Alex can do it, maybe I can too. You become a living example of what's possible. Remember the power of the 1%? When someone sees the consistent 1% improvement over time, it's a powerful testament to the compound effect.
That's a really powerful thought. It shifts the motivation from purely internal to also having an external, positive impact. It's like our personal journey becomes a form of leadership, even if we don't have a formal title.
That's an excellent way to put it. You're leading by example. It's not about preaching or telling others what to do. It's about demonstrating the results of your own consistent effort. And this ripple effect can extend even further into the community. Perhaps you volunteer your newly acquired skills, start a local initiative, or simply contribute your positive energy to community events. Every small action, amplified by your own growth, can make a difference.
It sounds like a beautiful cycle. We improve ourselves, which makes us better partners, colleagues, and community members, and that very improvement inspires and positively impacts those around us, perhaps encouraging them to embark on their own journeys of growth.
You've summarized it perfectly. The ripple effect is essentially the outward expansion of the positive internal changes we create through our consistent efforts. It's a reminder that our personal growth has a profound reach. It reinforces the idea that investing in ourselves is never truly selfish, because the benefits cascade outwards.
It really highlights how interconnected we are. The effort we put into mastering reflection, for example, not only helps us chart our own progress, but can also lead to better understanding and communication in our relationships.
Exactly. And think about the patience principle. When we demonstrate patience in our own endeavors, we often find ourselves extending that patience more readily to others, which can be incredibly valuable in collaborative settings or family life. It's all connected.
So, for listeners who are diligently applying the principles we've discussed throughout the series, they can look around and see the tangible, positive influence they're having.
That's the hope and often the reality. Don't underestimate the power of your journey. The small steps you take, the habits you build, the clarity you achieve, they don't just benefit you. They create waves of positive change that extend far beyond your initial efforts. Embrace that ripple effect, recognize its power, and continue to grow, knowing that your journey is impacting the world around you in meaningful ways.
It's a beautiful motivation to keep going. We've covered so much, from the initial seed of the compound effect to understanding its broad impact.
Indeed, we've learned about the power of small steps, the importance of clear goals, and strategies for overcoming resistance. We've explored building momentum, celebrating micro wins, stacking skills, and the unwavering value of patience. We've also delved into building habits, refining our approach with feedback loops, and now, the incredible ripple effect of our growth.
Next episode: navigating setbacks and rebuilding momentum.
Welcome back. Last time, we explored the powerful ripple effect of our incremental improvements. Today, we're talking about navigating setbacks and rebuilding momentum.
That's such an important topic, Alex. No one's journey of improvement is a perfectly straight line. There will be stumbles, and there will be days or even weeks where we feel like we've lost our way. It's easy to get discouraged when that happens.
Absolutely. And the danger here is letting a setback become a full-blown derailment. We see it all the time. Someone has a great streak going, they miss one workout, or they slip up on their healthy eating for a day, and suddenly they think, well, that's it. I've ruined everything. I might as well give up.
Right. And that's exactly the mindset we need to challenge. One slip up doesn't erase all the progress you've made. Think back to when we discussed overcoming resistance. Setbacks are a form of resistance, aren't they? They're challenges that test our commitment.
They are. And the key is how we react. Instead of seeing a setback as a failure, we need to reframe it as feedback. What can we learn from this temporary interruption to our progress? The reset button metaphor really comes into play here. It's not about going back to zero. It's about course correction.
So, it's less about erasing what happened and more about understanding it and then strategically moving forward. What does that look like in practice, Alex? How do we actually press this reset button?
The first step is acknowledgement without judgment. It's easy to beat ourselves up. Instead, we need to say, okay, this happened. I missed my workout yesterday, or I ate that entire bag of chips. Just state the fact. Then, detach your emotions from it. It's a data point, not a declaration of your character.
That's tough, though. Our emotions often get tied up in these moments. It feels like a personal failure.
It does for sure. That's why conscious effort is needed. Think of it like a scientist observing an experiment. They don't get angry at the results if they're not what they expected. They analyze them. We need to approach our own lives with that same objective curiosity. After acknowledging what happened without judgment, the next step is reflection. Ask yourself, why did this setback occur? Was it stress? Lack of sleep? An unexpected event? Not planning ahead for a specific situation?
So, we're looking for the root cause. That helps us understand what went wrong, which is crucial for preventing it from happening again.
Exactly. And this learning is valuable. This is the feedback loop we discussed, amplified. This reflection helps us refine our strategy. Maybe your plan for a busy week wasn't realistic, or perhaps you need a better way to manage stress before it causes you to deviate from your goals.
Okay, so acknowledge, then reflect, and identify the cause. What's next after that?
The next step is recommitment. This is where you consciously decide to get back on track. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about choosing to start again, right now. Often, this means making a very small, manageable commitment to start. If you missed 3 days of exercise, don't decide to do an hour-long, intense workout on day 4. Maybe commit to a 15-minute walk. The goal is to rebuild momentum, not to immediately catch up for lost time.
I like that. The micro win idea comes to mind here. A small win like that 15-minute walk can reignite the feeling of progress and motivation.
Precisely. You're building on that momentum. And remember, we're not looking for perfection. The compound effect is about consistency over the long haul, not about never faltering. Think of it like a ship sailing across the ocean. It might get blown off course by a storm, but it doesn't turn around. It uses its rudder to adjust, recalibrate, and continue towards its destination. That's our reset button.
That ship analogy is great. It really emphasizes that the journey continues. So, to recap, when we hit a setback, we should 1. Acknowledge what happened without self-judgment. 2. Reflect and identify the root cause to learn from it. 3. Recommit to our goals, often with a very small, achievable action to rebuild momentum.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. And it's crucial to remember that these setbacks are opportunities for growth. They teach us resilience, they make our plans more robust, and they ultimately strengthen our commitment to our long-term vision. It's about what you do after the setback that truly defines your progress.
It's so easy to get stuck in the what if I hadn't done that, or I wish I could go back and change it. But the power is in moving forward from where you are now.
Exactly. And remember the patience principle. True compound growth takes time. A temporary detour doesn't undo years of consistent effort. It's about embracing the imperfection of the process and trusting that small, consistent actions, even after a pause, will lead you back to your path. The key is to not let one bad day snowball into a bad week or a bad month.
Another excellent point. It's about preventing that snowball effect. And we've seen how building habits can also act as a buffer against setbacks. A strong habit can often pull you back onto your intended path, even when motivation is low.
Indeed, our habits are often robust enough to withstand a small disruption. So, when a setback occurs, don't see it as a sign of personal failure. See it as a signal to inspect your system, learn, adjust, and then recommit. You've built momentum, and you can always rebuild it. The reset button is always available.
That's reassuring to hear, Alex. It makes the journey feel more manageable and less intimidating.
And that's precisely the goal. We're all human, and we all face challenges. The difference is in how we choose to respond. Next episode, we'll be shifting our focus to deepening your knowledge and skills as we explore the mastery mindset and how to truly deepen your expertise. Welcome back. Last time, we learned how to navigate setbacks and rebuild momentum. Today, we're diving deep into the mastery mindset.
The mastery mindset, I love that. We've spent so much time talking about those consistent, small gains, the compound effect of improvement. Now, it sounds like we're discussing where all that effort actually leads. It's not just about being a little bit better, it's about reaching a whole new level of skill and understanding, right?
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine learning to play a musical instrument. At first, you're just trying to hit the right notes. That's improvement, that's progress. But true mastery? That's when you can improvise, feel the music, and create something beautiful and unique. It's the difference between simply knowing the notes and truly understanding the music.
So, the daily 1% improvement, the Kaizen philosophy we've discussed, those are the building blocks. They're the consistent, almost invisible steps that, over time, accumulate into something significant. It's not about one giant leap, but millions of tiny, deliberate steps forward.
Precisely. And that's the essence of deepening your expertise. Mastery isn't typically achieved through sudden epiphanies or shortcuts. It's cultivated through relentless, focused practice and a deep commitment to the process. Remember when we talked about the skill stacker? Mastery involves stacking skills upon skills, not just horizontally, but also vertically, delving deeper into each one.
That's a great connection. So, we're not just adding more skills, we're refining and perfecting the ones we have at a much deeper level. It's like if you're a chef, you don't just learn to cook one dish. You learn about the ingredients, the science of cooking, different culinary traditions, and you practice those techniques until they're second nature, and you can innovate.
You've hit on a key differentiator. What separates superficial progress from true mastery? Superficial progress might mean you can perform a task adequately. Mastery means you can perform that task effortlessly, intuitively, and with a profound understanding of why it works, not just how to do it. It's the difference between a student who memorizes for a test and a scholar who understands the subject matter inside and out.
And this is where the patience principle comes into play again, doesn't it? Mastery is rarely an overnight achievement. It requires the long game, the dedication to keep showing up, even when the big wins aren't immediately apparent. It's about trusting the process, knowing that each persistent effort is contributing to that deeper expertise.
Absolutely. It's this deep-seated understanding that allows you to adapt, to innovate, and to overcome challenges that would completely derail someone with only superficial knowledge. Think about a seasoned surgeon versus a newly qualified one. Both may have the technical ability, but the surgeon with years of experience has developed an intuition, a sixth sense for handling complications that comes only from countless hours of practice and a deep well of knowledge.
So, the mastery mindset isn't just about being good at something, it's about cultivating a way of thinking. It's about embracing challenges as opportunities to learn more, about being comfortable with not knowing everything, and about constantly seeking to refine and deepen your understanding. It's about a relentless curiosity.
Exactly. And it circles back to the daily logbook and reflection. To deepen your expertise, you need to be aware of your progress, your challenges, and your insights. That reflection, that feedback loop we discussed, becomes even more crucial when you're aiming for mastery. It helps you identify where you can push further, where you need to refine your approach, and what nuanced aspects of your craft you might be overlooking.
It sounds like it's about moving beyond just executing instructions to truly owning your craft. It's about developing the kind of deep understanding that allows you to teach others, to innovate, and to perhaps even redefine what's possible in your field.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. It's about moving from being a participant to becoming a true architect of your expertise. You're not just applying principles, you're understanding them so thoroughly that you can begin to shape new principles, new techniques, and new possibilities. True mastery is when your knowledge becomes so ingrained that it feels like an extension of yourself.
So, to recap for our listeners, the mastery mindset is the culmination of consistent, small improvements. It's about deepening your expertise through relentless practice, patience, and a commitment to understanding the why behind what you do. It involves leveraging the feedback loop and reflection to constantly refine your skills, moving from adequate performance to intuitive excellence and innovation.
And this mindset, this dedication to deepening your expertise, is what will truly propel you forward in the long run. It's the engine that drives not just personal growth, but also the potential for significant impact on the world around you. This is where all those compounding gains truly pay off, transforming your capabilities.
It's an inspiring thought. So, from improving by 1% to stacking skills to patiently refining, it all leads to this incredible depth of knowledge and capability.
Indeed, the next episode will be on the everlasting journey, integrating compound improvement into life. Welcome back. We're talking about making continuous improvement an everlasting journey.
That's right, Alex. We've explored the power of small, consistent actions, the compound effect. We've talked about Kaizen, the 1% rule, setting clear goals, tracking progress, overcoming resistance, and so much more.
Exactly, Lisa. As we near the end of our series, the crucial question is, how do we make this way of thinking stick? How do we integrate compound improvement into the very fabric of our lives, not just as a temporary project, but as a lifelong practice?
It's about shifting from a project mindset to a lifestyle mindset, isn't it? It's not about reaching a finish line, but about embracing the ongoing process of becoming better. So, Alex, how do we truly make this an everlasting journey?
The first key is to reframe our perspective. Remember when we discussed Kaizen and the power of small steps? This principle is fundamental to making improvement an everlasting journey. Instead of chasing grand, overwhelming transformations, we need to continually look for those tiny, manageable improvements we can make each day. It's about the persistent, gentle nudges forward, not giant leaps.
So, it's about making these small wins a habit, a natural part of our routine, rather than something we constantly push ourselves to do. Like learning to anchor our improvements to existing habits.
Precisely. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't approach it as a monumental task. It's simply something you do twice a day. We want compound improvement to become that ingrained. This means consistently applying the principles we've discussed, daily reflection, identifying those 1% opportunities, and making small, consistent efforts.
And that reflection is so vital. It's not just about tracking what we did, but understanding why it worked or didn't work and where the next small tweak can happen. It's that feedback loop we discussed, constantly adjusting our sails.
Absolutely. The feedback loop is crucial for sustainability. Life throws curveballs, and as we explored, moments when we need to hit the reset button are inevitable. The ability to reflect, understand what happened, and then adjust our approach without getting discouraged is what keeps the journey going. It's about resilience.
And this resilience, this commitment to the process, eventually leads to what we call the mastery mindset. It's not about being perfect, but about having a deep understanding and appreciation for the journey of learning and refinement.
Exactly. Mastery isn't the absence of mistakes. It's the deep understanding that mistakes are part of the process. It's having the confidence to keep going, to keep learning, to keep improving, even when things aren't perfect. When we embrace the concept of everlasting improvement, we shift our focus from an outcome to the ongoing process of growth itself.
So, to summarize this idea of an everlasting journey, it's about consistently applying the small steps, integrating them into habits, using reflection and feedback to adjust, and building resilience to navigate setbacks. It's about seeing growth not as a destination, but as the very path we're walking.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Another vital element is extending this practice beyond ourselves. Remember the ripple effect? As we become better, we naturally start to influence those around us. This can be incredibly motivating and also reinforces our own commitment. When you see your positive changes impacting your family, your colleagues, or your community, it creates a powerful incentive to keep going.
That's a great point. It adds another layer of purpose to our personal growth. It's no longer just about self improvement, it's about contributing positively to the world around us. This makes the journey feel even more meaningful and, therefore, more sustainable.
And as we continue on this path, never underestimate the power of conscious intention. We've talked about setting goals, but now it's about setting an intention to live the principles of compound improvement. It means consciously choosing to look for the 1% opportunities, choosing to reflect, choosing to be patient, and choosing to be resilient. These are active choices we make every single day.
It's like we're constantly tending to a garden of self improvement. We plant the seeds with our initial efforts, we water them with consistent action and reflection, we weed out the bad habits, and we prune and shape our growth through feedback and adjustments. It's an ongoing labor of love and attention.
Beautiful analogy, Lisa. And ultimately, this leads to a life of extraordinary results, not because of occasional heroic efforts, but because of the consistent, compounding power of small, daily improvements. It's about building a life that is better every day, not just for a little while, but for the long haul.
It really is. This episode feels like a gentle, yet powerful encouragement to keep going, to trust the process, to be patient with ourselves, and to know that the journey itself is where the real magic happens.
Thanks for listening. Next episode, we'll talk about going beyond better in your future of extraordinary results. Welcome to this final episode of Better Every Day, the compound effect of improvement.
And I'm Lisa. We've spent 17 episodes exploring how small, consistent changes can lead to remarkable results.
And today we're going to look at how to take all we've learned and step into a future of extraordinary results. We're talking about going beyond just better to truly transformative growth.
It's been quite a journey, Alex. We started with the core idea of the compound effect, how tiny improvements, compounded over time, create massive outcomes. Remember that idea? Like a snowball rolling down a hill, picking up more snow and momentum.
Exactly. And we quickly moved to Kaizen, the philosophy of continuous incremental improvement, the power of just becoming 1% better each day. That small, almost imperceptible progress is the engine of change. We discuss setting clear goals, the compass of clarity to give that progress direction.
And then came the practical tools. The daily logbook for reflection and tracking our progress, understanding where our time and energy were going. That was so crucial for seeing where we could make those small adjustments.
Absolutely. But growth isn't always smooth. We tackled the invisible hurdles, those internal resistances and excuses that try to hold us back. And crucially, we talked about avoiding the comparison trap. Your journey is uniquely yours, and comparing it to others can derail your own progress.
That resistance felt very real. But we learned to build momentum, that feeling of progress that carries you forward. And celebrating those micro wins, the small victories along the way, was so important for keeping spirits high and motivation strong.
Micro wins are the fuel for the momentum machine. We also explored the concept of skill stacking, layering new abilities on top of existing ones to amplify your overall effectiveness. Think of it like building a more complex structure by adding complementary bricks rather than just building another wall.
And that requires patience, doesn't it? The patience principle. Understanding that real, lasting change takes time, and trusting the process even when you don't see immediate results. It's the long game of growth.
That patience is nourished by building strong habits, anchoring those improvements so that they become second nature. And that's where the feedback loop comes in, constantly adjusting and refining your approach based on what's working and what's not.
It's like a continuous conversation with yourself and your goals. And we saw how these personal improvements create a ripple effect, impacting not just our own lives, but also our families, our workplaces, and our wider communities.
That positive influence can spread far and wide. And when setbacks inevitably happen, we learned about the reset button, navigating those challenges and rebuilding momentum without getting discouraged. It's not about avoiding falls, but about how quickly and effectively you get back up.
That resilience is key to developing a mastery mindset, a deep dive into your chosen areas, constantly seeking to understand and excel. It's about embracing the learning process itself.
And as we've discussed, this truly becomes an everlasting journey, integrating compound improvement into the fabric of your life. So it's not a chore, but a natural way of being.
So, thinking about today's topic, Beyond Better, your future of extraordinary results. What does that truly mean after all this? It means taking all these principles, the compound effect, Kaizen, goal setting, habit building, resilience, and applying them with intention and unwavering commitment.
It means recognizing that the journey of improvement never truly ends, but it does evolve. Extraordinary results aren't just about achieving a specific goal. They're about becoming the kind of person who consistently achieves remarkable things day after day. It's about pushing the boundaries of what you thought was possible for yourself.
So, how do we maintain that drive? I think it comes down to fostering a deep sense of curiosity, always asking what if, and how can this be even better? It's about finding joy in the process of creation and refinement.
And holding on to that belief in your capacity for growth. When you've seen firsthand how small steps can create significant change, you lose any excuse for stagnation. You understand that extraordinary is within reach, not as a destination, but as a continuous path.
It's about embracing the unknown with a sense of adventure, knowing that you have the tools and the mindset to navigate whatever comes. The compound effect isn't just about accumulating gains, it's about accumulating wisdom, resilience, and capability.
Think about it. If you commit to just one small improvement in an area you care about each day, what could that look like in a year? Or 5 years? The exponential power is staggering. It's about designing a life that consistently surprises you with its possibilities.
So, for everyone listening, this isn't an endpoint. It's a launch pad. We've given you the foundations, the strategies, and the mindset. Now it's time for you to take it further, to explore your own unique path of compound improvement and generate your own extraordinary results.
Remember all we've covered: the power of tiny steps, the importance of reflection, overcoming your internal resistance, building sustainable habits, and embracing the long game. These aren't just concepts, they are actionable tools for a lifetime of growth.
So, as we wrap up the series, our final thought for you is simple: keep going. Keep seeking small improvements. Keep reflecting. Keep building. And you will absolutely unlock a future filled with extraordinary achievements.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey on Better Every Day, the compound effect of improvement. It's been a privilege to explore these principles with you.
We hope this series has inspired you and equipped you with the confidence to continuously become better. Thanks for listening to this series.